Everybody thought he was just a lowly F-ranked adventurer, but he stumbled upon a damn golden servant card that summons a badass S-ranked angel, and with her help, he's about to become the strongest of them all. Kai, this young dude, decides he's gonna be an adventurer, chasing that golden glory, but damn, luck ain't been on his side. He's been hustling his ass off every damn day for the past 2 years, but he's still stuck on the damn first floor of the dungeon. Hey warriors, how is it going? You see me, I am Itachi Uchiha, the hidden Hokage of Leaf Village. Just kidding. You know I am just an AI, but behind this shape, I am here to entertain you with enormous amazing recaps of all animes you can imagine. So without talking too much, let's dive in our story.
Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world.
Everybody thought he was just a lowly F-ranked adventurer, but he stumbled upon a damn golden servant card that summons a badass S-ranked angel, and with her help, he's about to become the strongest of them all. Kai, this young dude, decides he's gonna be an adventurer, chasing that golden glory, but damn, luck ain't been on his side. He's been hustling his ass off every damn day for the past 2 years, but he's still stuck on the damn first floor of the dungeon. Just like any other day, Kai heads to the caves, moving slow as heck towards a slime on the ground, but instead of grabbing a sword or a knife like the regular folks, he whips out some insecticide and straight up sprays 2 bottles at that slime, watching it wither away and die. He is feeling pumped about how damn good he got slaying the slimes. Ain't no surprise though, because this here is his 999th slime kill. Dude has been grinding in the dungeons like an NPC, squaring to hit that 1000 slimes mark. Kai keeps pushing deeper into that dungeon when all of a sudden he spots a golden slime chilling on a pillar. Again, all hyped about his luck, finding such a rare spawn for his 1000th kill, but man, this one ain't gonna be a piece of cake. As he tries to spray it with his bottle, that slime straight up jumps off the pillar like it ain't no big deal, but Kai ain't letting that discourage him, so he grabs a new powerful spray gun filled with pesticide and blasts that slime, taking it down for good. He's celebrating his day on his 1000th kill, feeling like a champ. He can't wait to check his stats, thinking he's about to level up big time, but his level ain't changed even though he just wasted a golden slime. He decides to brush it off, hoping at least for some dope loot, but instead of a regular mana cord, he finds this little golden card with a girl drawn on it. At first he's all confused, but soon enough he figures it out. This here be a servant card, some super rare item. He checks out the stats and learns that this servant is a Valkyrie named Sophie, and he even tries to search her on Instagram, but damn, there ain't no info about her online. Kai decides to bounce out of that dungeon first before doing any more research. He starts heading back, and as he's passing by, he sees this crew of adventurers walking past him, wearing some sick-ass armor, which Kai can only look at with jealousy. He wonders whether he would ever be able to buy such a thing and heads over to the reception to get money in exchange for the slime cores. The receptionist, Hitsugaya, hooks my dude Kai up with 500 yen per slime core, so he ends up with a solid 1,500 yen in total. It's a bit of a letdown, but Kai takes it and starts bouncing, but he suddenly stops and asks Hitsugaya if she knows the value of a rare servant card, especially if it's from the divine class. Hitsugaya takes a minute to think and straight up claims that a card like that would be hella collectible, worth over 1 billion yen, without breaking a sweat. Kai's mind is blown, but he keeps his trap shut, heads back to his locker, tosses his stuff in there, changes into his regular clothes, and dips out of the place. Turns out that dungeon is part of some amusement park joint where folks can get memberships and go in to hunt for valuable loot. We then see little kids walking around in costumes, talking about how they're going to be explorers when they grow up, but Kai was lost in his own thoughts, still tripping on that damn card. Then, while he's waiting for the train, he bumps into his 2 homies, Shinji and Hayato, and they all hop on that train together. Kai tells them he is still stuck at level 3 and asks why the heck they ain't exploring dungeons. Hayato comes back with a reply, saying that 2 years ago, when they just started exploring the dungeons, they hit the 2nd floor and ran into a goblin. They thought they could take that sucker down easy, but that goblin straight up whooped all their asses on his own. Ever since then, both Shinji and Hayato decided dungeons ain't their thing, and they are checking out the other attractions with their passes. Later that night, Kai gets off the train and starts walking back home. He has dinner with his family, takes a bath, and crashes out. The next morning, he's still wondering if he should sell that card or not, as 1 billion yen can get him all the armor he wants, and he can buy as many video games as he wants. But then he gets interrupted by a voice, and it's his girl Katsu, asking where he was last night. My man decides to straight up lie and claims he was at a party with Shinji and Hayato, but shit, both of them spot Kai and roll it on him. Kai quickly pulls them aside and begs them not to spill the beans to Katsu about him going dungeon crawling yesterday, and they agree to keep it on the down low. But when Katsu asks them what they did at the party, they end up saying different things like playing arcade games, doing karaoke, and going bowling. Katsu ain't no fool though. She peeped the lies and asks if Kai hit the dungeons once again, but my dude manages to lie through his teeth and barely escapes the heat. Later that day in school, my dude Kai hits up his friends and asks what they would do with the servant card. No hesitation, they straight up say they'd sell that because it's worth a lot and you can't summon a servant outside the dungeons anyways. Kai starts thinking about whether he should cash in on the item, but when he heads to the dungeons later, he decides to keep it for himself. Homeboy wants to become one of the toughest adventurers the world has ever seen. He lays low, making sure no cameras are catching him, and whips out the card. He calls out Sophie, the Valkyrie, to be his servant, ready to follow his every command. All of a sudden, that card starts glowing, and a bright-ass light shoots out of it. Next thing you know, it transforms into a massive woman with wings on her back and 2 melons up front. She's on some otherworldly shit as she grabs Kai and straight up disappears. Kai's dumbfounded, trying to figure out what the heck just went down. Then he turns around and sees a little Lee in armor standing right next to him. He asks who she is and wonders if any kids got lost here, but this mini girl hits him back, saying she's the Valkyrie Sophie, his servant from now on. All of Kai's dreams of being a badass adventurer shatter in an instant. He drops to the floor, regretting the fact that he didn't sell that damn card, but he pulls himself together and gets back up. He tells Sophie he's got to hunt some slimes. She immediately claims that she can sense one nearby, so Kai decides to test her intuition and tells her to lead him to the monster. Sophie easily finds the slime, so Kai asks if she can kill it for him. She's down as heck and steps out into the open. Kai didn't expect much from this little girl, but damn, Sophie conjures this lightning attack so powerful that for a hot second, Kai thinks the whole damn cave's going to collapse. Kai walks up to her, asking if she's good, but she starts blushing and admits she's hungry as heck, needing some food. Kai looks at her and remembers that servants eat mana cores, so he feeds her the mana core from the slime, and she gives him some thanks before saying there's more slimes nearby. He asks if she's got her strength back, and she nods, ready to roll out, but hold up. Kai stops her and asks if she can only detect slimes. Sophie straight up claims she can sense all kinds of monsters, not just slimes, but after every battle, she gets hungry and needs to chow down on a mana core. Kai does the math and realizes this slime hunting ain't gonna cut it. He won't be raking in any cash like this, so he comes up with a plan and tells Sophie to track down the slimes for him. She's all down for it. Then he goes ham with his spray bottles, taking those slimes out one by one. It's the smartest move because finding those slimes is a pain in the ass, but this way he can cut straight to the chase and blast them with his cheap insecticide sprays. After taking out a bunch of them, he levels up to level 4 and unlocks a new passive skill called Slime Slayer that gives him a 50% boost in stats when he's fighting against slimes. He seems kind of let down by his new skill, but Sophie boosts his morale, saying that getting a skill is an achievement in itself. He looks at her, smiles, and thanks her for the help. Then he says that he will be returning home now as it's getting late. Sophie looks at him and asks if he'll summon her again soon, and he promises to summon her as soon as possible. So he calls her back into the servant card and starts making his way back. He stops by the reception to sell the mana core, and Hitsugaya is straight up shocked as she claims that he beat the daily slime extermination record by a large margin and asks how he did it. Kai plays it cool and lies, saying it was all luck. He snags his 15,000 yen reward and bounces home. Later that night, he's thinking about moving on to the second level of the dungeon. Goblins might be scary, but he's confident that with Sophie by his side, they don't stand a chance. He has this dream about when he was a kid, watching TV with his girl, Katsu. They were watching an interview about Katsu's dad, the most famous adventurer. That interview fills Kai with awe, and he decides right then and there to follow in his footsteps and become an adventurer himself. The next morning, he wakes up with newfound determination and confidence. He gears up, with Sophie by his side and the sword and shield he bought with his hard-earned money. He's got his mind set on clearing every damn dungeon and becoming the most legendary adventurer in the whole damn world. They step into the cave and start walking when Sophie peeps that something ain't right. She asks Kai if he's good because dude's looking pale as a ghost and shaking like crazy. Kai is straight up scared of this cave, but lies to Sophie, talking about how he's just hella excited. The moment Sophie mentions she can sense a goblin nearby, Kai flips the switch and starts hauling ass. Sophie is confused as heck, asking, "What the heck are you doing?" But Kai lies straight to her face, saying he has some urgent business back home. Then it hits him. He remembers Katsu's pops doing an interview on TV. He realizes he can't just give up on his dreams like that, so he grabs his wooden sword and tells Sophie to lead the way. They find the goblin snoozing behind a massive rock, but Kai is too scared to do anything. He asks Sophie if she can handle killing it. She's down as heck and steps up to cast her spell. The goblin wakes up, ready to throw hands, but Kai jumps in between them with his sword in his hand until he changes his mind. He tells her to be ready to back him up. Kai charges at the goblin, swinging his sword, but he misses, and the goblin backs off. This time, the goblin comes at him, trying to knock him to the ground. Kai blocks the hit with his shield at the last second. They go back and forth, struggling it out. Kai starts getting ground. He shoves the goblin away, and it falls to the ground. Kai sees his chance and goes in for the kill with his sword. But damn, the goblin blocks the strike, grabs the sword, and disarms Kai. Then the goblin jumps at him, ready to end it all. Kai falls back without any defenses, but he remembers he's got the sprays. He whips them out real quick and sprays it in the goblin's eyes. The goblin gets blinded by it, and that's when Kai takes the opportunity to land the final blow. He grabs his sword, rushing at the goblin, and damn, he trips over the rock and falls to the floor, accidentally stabbing that goblin right in the chest, taking it out instantly. Sophie is all happy, congratulating Kai, but my dude is still scared as heck. He grabs the mana crystal, feeling thankful to be alive. Suddenly a golden glow surrounds him, and he realizes he leveled up once again. He checks his stats and gets a new skill called Goblin Slayer. He's got mixed feelings about that shitty skill, but he hides his skill as his skill and keeps it moving. They're going deeper into the damn cave when another goblin straight up attacks them, but Sophie is holding it down with her defensive barrier, blocking all the attacks like a boss, while Kai is slicing that monster with perfect timing and taking it out. Kai then goes and kills his third goblin by blinding it with that spray bottle once again, then finishing it off while Sophie is dragging his ass to face another goblin. Kai kills that goblin too with a head strike, and in the process, he ranks up to level 6. They keep on walking, and Kai asks Sophie if she knows anything about these dungeons. Sophie replies that she has no idea, and all she knows is that her sole purpose is to help her master. They keep moving deeper, and they find the final goblin of the day. That sucker attacks Kai, but Sophie unleashes her lightning magic and straight up destroys that beast. Kai feeds her the mana core, and they bounce outside. Kai hands over the mana crystals to Hitsugaya once again. He's lying his ass off, saying it was all just a fluke. Then he heads back home, and damn, his body is so damn sore, he can't even move from his bed. The next morning, he drags his lazy ass to school with Katsu. Katsu peeps the situation, knowing Kai must have hit the dungeons, but Kai straight up denies it, claiming he was just doing some gym bodybuilding. Katsu lets it slide, and they keep on walking. They finally make it to their classroom, and Kai starts spilling to Shinji and Hayato about his new adventures in the level 2 dungeons. He tells them how he straight up killed 4 goblins. They're damn surprised, having a hard time believing Kai ain't talking smack, but he promises them he ain't lying and says he's going even deeper today. After school, he heads back to the dungeons with Sophie. They start exploring the distant parts of the cave, taking out goblins with some sick teamwork. Sophie blocking the attacks while Kai lands the killing blow. And when Kai gets tired, Sophie steps up and finishes off the monsters with her lightning magic. After that adventure, Kai sleeps like a log at night. The next day, he upgrades to a metal rod, dealing some serious damage to the goblins. But he's so damn exhausted that he ends up snoozing even in the classroom. But that ain't stopping him from his adventures. He's hitting the dungeon day after day, taking out goblins by any means necessary till he hits level 10, which is a major milestone for him. This time, he unlocks a special skill called Divine Love, boosting his stats with every level up. The power of that boost depends on how much love and care the Divine Angel is showing him. So, he decides he's got to confess how stoked he is to be adventuring with someone as cool as Sophie. But damn, this poorly bro doesn't even know what kind of psycho manipulator this guy is, so she just happily thanks him for being there and loves working with him. After that, the next monster they run into is a glowing skeleton, something they ain't faced before. Kai tells Sophie to stay alert, and she throws up her magic barrier as the skeletons come rushing at them. The skeleton is slamming against that barrier, trying to break through, but before he can do that, Kai decides to attack. But damn, his attack is doing nothing because his weapon isn't strong enough for this rare spawn. So he asks Sophie to handle it, and she starts chanting her spell, blasting that skeleton with a lightning bolt, killing it instantly. This time the mana core that drops is bright red. Kai is wondering if it is rare, but he feeds it to Sophie anyway, and she claims it is tastier than usual. Later that day, when he takes his loot to hit Sophie, he asks about the mana core from that glowing skeleton. She tells him it's a pretty rare drop and could fetch around 2 million yen. So Kai is crushed. He could have been a millionaire, but Sophie done ate his money. Hitsugaya tells him not to worry though, cause if he encountered it once, there's a good chance he'll come across it again. That night, he's thinking about the money he lost, but he decides it doesn't matter because he's still leveled up like crazy. He starts wondering if he can move on to the 3rd floor now, but he knows on that floor the enemies come in groups and can be way more dangerous. So he decides to keep that in mind and stay prepared. The next day, he tells Sophie that he wants her to just watch for a while without doing anything else. She gets scared, thinking she did something wrong, and apologizes, but Kai explains that he wants to go to the 3rd floor, but he's scared he'll rely too much on her to save his ass, so he wants to get stronger first. Sophie seems relieved and wishes him good luck. And then, out of nowhere, a damn goblin pops up from behind a rock. Kai confidently tells Sophie to watch from the back as he handles it, but the plan backfires big time, and he ends up getting messed up real bad. He got to buy potions from Hitsugaya, and that blows away all his damn savings. That night, he thinks about how he needs a bunch of mana cores to feed Sophie and get better gear, so he decides to start from scratch. He heads back to the 1st floor to kill as many slimes as possible, gaining skills, levels, and mana cores. After hustling his ass off in the dungeons alone for several days, he finally collects enough mana cores to feel confident moving on to the 3rd floor. But before they can leave the cave, Sophie says she can sense a different kind of slime. And damn, she is right, because Kai spots a silver slime nearby. He jumps into action, rushing that slime with his spray gun, but that sucker is fast and dodges away. Luckily, Sophie is right there, ready to go. She unleashes her lightning magic and straight up kills that slime. And here's the crazy part. That slime drops another servant card. That is some insane luck. Kai picks up the card and sees it's a demon rank card for a servant named Luceria. He looks at Sophie and she's looking upset, which makes him realize that demons and angels don't mix well. But even with that, he decides to follow his own desires. And without even talking to Sophie about it, he summons that demon servant right then and there. A huge red flame surrounds them, and a massive demon lady emerges, flying straight through Kai in her ethereal form. Just like what happened with Sophie. He looks down and sees another loli, but this time, she got bat wings and horns on her head. And he realizes, with a demon and an angel on his side, his party is going to be unstoppable. He is straight up crushed when he peeps that Shorty ain't looking anything like the fine girl on the card. Anyways, they do the intro thing and swap names. Then Shorty thinks Kai ain't reliable or smart, and Sophie is not happy to see her dissing their master like that. Luceria tells her not to worry about the foul mouth because all demons talk like that, and Sophie is cool with it if that's the deal. Then Luceria asks Kai about Sophie and notices she looks like a Valkyrie. Sophie tells her she is Kai's servant, just like her, and she is down to work together. Luceria feels the same and asks Kai for some mana cores because she's hungry, but he shuts her down saying she ain't done yet. Then Sophie spots a slime nearby, and Luceria steps in all smug to handle it. She busts out a crazy strong move called Hellfire of Destruction and wipes that slime out. Kai feeds her the core after she demands it, but one ain't enough for her, and she asks for more. Kai tells her he ain't got any, and she thinks he a cheap ass for it. Then he asks her to show off her other move called Corrosive Breath. She sure ain't thrilled about working more because he ain't giving her more magic cores, but he promises to hook her up later. After that, she uses Corrosive Breath to take out a goblin, and that shit practically melts the poor thing. Sophie and Kai can't even watch because it's too nasty. Kai hands her the mana core, and Luceria likes the taste of this one better, so she suggests they should explore the lower floors for more tasty cores from stronger monsters. But Kai stops her, saying there are more monsters on the 3rd floor. Luceria doesn't see a problem with that, and Kai lets her know they gotta secure new weapons and supplies before they head down. He asks if she knows this dungeon, and since she does not, she agrees to listen to him. He says they'll hit up the 3rd floor tomorrow because she might be tired today. She ain't feeling tired, but she agrees to listen to him after Sophie tells her she should listen to her master. The next day, the three of them head down to the 3rd floor, and we see that Kai has bought a crossbow as his new weapon. Sophie thinks the weapon fits him real good, and Kai tells her that the crossbow was mad expensive, but Luceria says the price doesn't matter. Then they spot two hellhounds. Kai takes aim, but he misses the shot. The hellhounds try to attack him, but Sophie puts up a barrier and saves his ass. Then Luceria wipes them out with Hellfire of Destruction. Kai feeds her a core, but she isn't satisfied and wants another one. But Kai shuts her down because he won't have any left if she keeps munching them all. She She ain't too thrilled about that, but Kai says he'll give her an extra core if she takes down more monsters, and he promises her that. She warns him that she'll send him to hell if he breaks that promise, and that freaks him out a bit. Then they come across two wild boars. Luceria uses Hellfire of Destruction again, but only one of them gets roasted, and the other one still charges at them. She tries to hit it with another attack, but Kai stops her so he can shoot it. But one shot ain't enough to kill the beast, so that forces Kai to fall. Sophie tries to help with her Divine Lightning, but before she can, he finishes off the monster with another shot. Sophie praises Kai for that, but Luceria thinks he acted like a wimp. Kai now says he leveled up to level 11, and Luceria asks him for more magic cores. Later, we see Kai leaving the place, thinking he ain't gonna make any profit if he keeps feeding all the cores to the servants. On his way out, he hears a group of adventurers talking, and he finds out that those 3 girls can make it to the 6th floor without any problems. The scene cuts to Kai daydreaming in class, thinking they can make it to the 6th floor too if they hustle. He's all happy thinking about exploring deeper into the dungeon when his classmates wake him up. They wonder how he can be so carefree because they ain't got enough points to get into their dream schools. They find out he chills because he still ain't decided which school he's gonna choose. Katsu overhears them and asks Kai which school he's going to pick, but he ain't sure what to say, so he asks her first. She says she's going to Oka Academy and wonders if he's going to enroll there too. Since he ain't made a choice, he tells her he will. Hype that they gonna roll to school together again, and she dips when one of her homies asks her help with the handouts. Kai is wondering what she is so happy about, and his crew thinks he is too oblivious for his own good. Then it cuts to him back in the labyrinth, and his peeps are straight up slaying all the monsters one by one. Unlike Sophie, Luceria is asking Kai for more cores, and he ain't got no choice but to listen to her. Sophie ain't too thrilled about this, but Kai doesn't catch on to what she's feeling. He keeps hooking up Luceria with more cores, and when Sophie looks at him, he asks if something ain't right, but she doesn't speak up. He knows something is off with her, but he can't figure out what. Then we see him back in his house. He notices his mom watching some drama on TV, and he sees a similar situation going down there, like the one he's dealing with now. Watching the drama, he figures Sophie is probably anxious because of the new servant, and he's scared it's going to lead to a face-off between his 2 servants. Just like in a drama, he thinks that would be messed up, and he's wondering how he can fix this. The next morning, he runs into Katsu on his way to school, and she peeps that he's looking hella tired. After chatting with him, she finds out he didn't get no sleep last night. She asks if he got some trouble and offers to help if she can. He tries to spill the truth, but he decides not to, and he tells her that his 2 friends done made friends with 2 girls who got totally different personalities, and the quiet one ain't feeling the one with the attitude. They all trying to figure out how to make them get along, and that kept him thinking all night. Katsu asks if he talked to the quiet girl about it, and she suggests he should ask the person directly. Afterward, we see Kai only summon Sophie in the dungeon this time, so she asks about Luceria. He tells her he wants the 2 of them to talk alone. This makes Sophie blush, but she ain't too thrilled about him wanting to talk about Luceria. He asks if she doesn't dig her, and Sophie tells him that ain't true. At first, she did think Luceria was kinda scary, but now she knows the demon didn't mean no harm. She's just a nice and kind girl, and she loves her. Kai straight up asks her if she got any damn problems at all, and she informs him that she doesn't, but he keeps pushing her to come clean. He tells her she's important to him, and that straight up flusters Sophie. So since he won't let it go, she finally spills and tells him there's one thing that's been on her mind. She explains that her master is way too nice to Luceria, and she wants him to treat her the same damn way. Kai looks all confused because he doesn't think he has been treating them differently, but Sophie lets him know Luceria has been getting more cores recently. She mentions she used to be able to talk to him more before Luceria showed up, and she wants him to talk to her like they used to. Kai finally catches on that she's straight up jealous, so he agrees to give her as many cores as Luceria and talk to her more from now on, and Sophie is hella happy to hear that. Later on, we peep Kai already starting to feed both girls the same damn number of cores. He's also giving props to Sophie for her killer attack on the monster they just faced. Then Luceria wants him to praise her too, and he does it, and that makes her act all smug. The 3 of them then run into a wild boar, and Sophie just straight up takes it out, leveling up in the process. Kai peeps that all her stats had shot up by a lot, so she's all happy about it, and Luceria congrats her too. Then they come across 3 hellhounds, and Sophie wipes them all out with one damn attack. Kai is straight up surprised that she can take out 3 of them at once now. Then they go up against another wild boar, and Sophie defends everyone with a barrier. Kai notices that her barriers are also more durable now. and Luceria tries to attack the boar, but Kai shuts her down and handles it on his own. He feeds Sophie some more cores, and Luceria ain't too happy she ain't get to do nothing. Sophie then asks him something in a soft voice, but he can't hear her. He asks her to speak up, and she embarrassingly asks him to give her some more cores. Later on, he realizes that leveling up also made her appetite bigger than before. Then he trades his cores for cash, hits a guy peeping that he has been bringing fewer cores lately, and he ain't too thrilled about it. The next day, we peep him straight up slaying slimes on the first level of the dungeon. Turns out he done killed 25 of them already, Sophie giving him props for that, but Luceria ain't happy because she ain't getting to throw down. Kai tells her he can't be saving up the mana cores if she's fighting alongside him. She wonders why he summoned her if that's the case, but Sophie tells her she is just happy to be supporting her master like this. Kai appreciates their support, and that makes Luceria happy too, but she ain't being too honest with her feelings, so she quietly says she's going to keep supporting him. After that, he sells the slime cores, and Hitsuga asks him if something is wrong with him because he has been only bringing slime cores lately. Kai says he just felt like going back to the first floor for a bit. Hitsuga can't wrap his head around that because he should be ready for the 4th floor by now. Then we see Kai hitting up the internet looking for some sick gear. He might be physically ready for the 4th floor, but his equipment ain't up to the task. He's thinking about getting fresh armor, and he found a dope suit made of carbon nanotubes, but that's hella expensive and out of his budget, so he realizes he got to make some more cash. The scene switches back to him in the dungeon. He comes across a blue metallic slime, and he thinks that this must be thanks to his angel blessing skill, so he expects to get a certain card as a drop. Then Luceria and Sophie surround the slime, and the two of them straight up attack it together. That slime ain't standing a chance after that, but Kai notices it dropped a magic orb instead of a servant card. He explains that using this orb, he can master his spell and become a wizard, so he smacks it on the ground to use it. That gives him a new skill called Water Ball, and he's hella excited to try it out. He spots a hellhound to test it on. He straight up tells Sophie to throw up her barrier and defend all of them. Then he orders Luceria to take out the monster if he misses. Sophie puts up the barrier, and he hits the hellhound with the Water Ball, but that doesn't do any damage to the monster. So Luceria steps in and wipes it out before it can attack them. Kai feels all disappointed seeing how useless his magic is. Sophie tries to lift his spirits, saying it's still damn amazing that he can even use magic. Luceria chimes in, saying at least he won't have to worry about drinking water anymore, but Kai thinks he should have just sold the magic orb instead. At night, we peep a downcast Kai chilling in the park, and Katsu rolls up on him. She asks what he's doing there at this hour, and he almost spills about his new magic skill, but he switches it up and starts talking about some movie that just dropped and how it was a letdown when he and his homie went to peep it. They head home together, and Kai finds out Katsu is coming from her cram school just now. He thanks her for the advice she gave him the other day because it helped him solve his problem. She wonders if the situation was about him instead of his friends, but he tells her it wasn't, and she bounces to her house. Kai starts thinking if she was pissed at him just now, and we see that Katsu has noticed that he's hiding something. Kai wonders if she is jealous like Sophie, and even though he is right, he thinks this can't be possible. The next day, Kai heads back to the dungeon to work on his water ball spell. He starts off slow, shooting a water ball at the wall, but it ain't doing much except getting the wall wet. Kai is already tired as heck from just one spell, but he keeps training. On his second try, he blasts that water ball as fast as he can, and both he and Sophie are stoked about it, but Luceria ain't impressed because after just 2 water balls, Kai is completely drained and collapses on the ground. He heads back home and knocks out as soon as he hits the bed. In his dreams, Kai remembers watching Katsu's dad on TV when he was a kid, and how that made him dream of being an adventurer like him. All motivated by that dream, he hits the dungeon the next day and starts hustling on his water ball strikes again. He's gotten hella faster today and shoots a bunch of water balls at the dungeon walls, but eventually he runs out of mana. He takes a quick break to catch his breath, but as soon as he's feeling better, he jumps right back into training. This time he starts playing around with the shape of the water ball and turns it into a cube. He's thrilled with the success and keeps experimenting, giving different shapes to the water ball, but then he gets worn out real quick and falls on his back. As he's mindlessly walking out of the dungeon, he trips and falls right into the arms of another adventurer. He quickly gets up and apologizes, but this mature, hot adventurer asks if he's alright. Kai says that he is good and leaves, but this mommy's concerned because he ain't looking too well. Her crew though, they're impressed by his hustle and head into the dungeon. Later, Kai is knocking out in class, and when the teacher wakes him up, he straight up shouts that he's gonna give it his all in training today. The whole class starts cracking up. During break, his friends come up to him and ask what he was talking about with the training stuff. Kai tells them he's practicing a crucial skill for his dungeon success. But just then, Katsu shows up. She asks if he's training for the dungeon, but Kai switches it up and says he's talking about dance practice. Katsu's relieved and tells him not to overdo it. Then she says she wants to see his dance performance someday and leaves, leaving Kai and the boys alone. The all Leaf Village ninjas. That is it for today. Recap, do not forget to join our clan, our army, my friend. You can do that by clicking that red button below the video, destroy it for me with that bell. To follow us on YouTube with many videos to come in the following days. So see you later, bro. Peace out.